Life has a way of testing us in ways we never expected, pushing us to the edge of what we think we can endure. For some, those moments come with unimaginable challenges that change everything. And yet, within the struggle, they find strength, purpose, and a reason to give back. Imagine navigating one of life's toughest challenges, cancer, and not just surviving, but discovering a renewed purpose, clarity, and drive to help others. That's exactly what our guest has done. Back in 2020, she joined us to share her inspiring story, and today she's back to take us even deeper. From her own experience with cancer to the mindset shift that changed her life and her journey of becoming a cancer doula, this conversation is a masterclass in resilience and impact. Today, we have with us Talaya Dendy from On the Other Side, LLC, and the podcast Navigating Cancer Together. Let's dive in.
All right. Well, it's good to be back, Tracy. And a lot has changed since 2019. For those who are not familiar with my story, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2011 out of the blue. I was never really sick before, other than the cold or the flu. And actually, I was walking around with cancer for a whole year because in 2010, I went to see my primary care doctor and pointed out a concern that I had. There was a small lump. It was small, but first of all, I knew it shouldn't have been there. And pointed it out to her. She said not to worry. She pointed out that I exercised a lot. Maybe it was just a pull muscle. So fast forward to 2011, found a new doctor, and the new doctor was like, no, that is not a pulled muscle, because of course it had gotten bigger and harder. And her approach was totally different. So she had me go through a whole range of tests, which I won't dive into too much because I had to go through 3 or 4 different things before I finally got a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
Yes. hmm And so, of course, that's when things really got real. I'm like, cancer, what? Huh? I'm only 30 something. You must have something wrong. And so got that call on a Friday on my way home from work. And of course, no one could answer my questions. A nurse couldn't answer my questions.
Right.
So I was left all weekend to just work through my emotions and figure out what I was going to do next. And that's really where my story started. That is where Talaya the Advocate was born. So yeah, that's how it got me to where I'm at today.
Okay.
There's so many different things happened in between, a lot of downs, some ups, of course. You mentioned mindset shift, and a lot changed with my mindset throughout that whole cancer journey.
Do you mind taking us through the highlights of your cancer journey? So once you found out that you were diagnosed with that particular cancer, how did you start treatment? How did you decide what treatment course you wanted to go through? Was it something that you decided on your own? Did you talk to your family members? Did the doctor, give you a few options? Can you take us through that journey?
Sure. So once I got the official diagnosis, of course, that Monday, I had to get on the phone and start making calls. I was partnered with my oncologist, who God must have really blessed me, because I hear the horror stories that other
Right.
people have, but thankfully I had a great oncologist. And the first thing to do was to go through a whole bunch of tests, which they call staging. And that is to help determine, number one, how far along your cancer is, stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, on and on. And then also to determine if the cancer has spread. Is it in my bones? Is it in any of my other organs, because all of those things determine the kind of treatment and the severity of treatment that you'll need.
Mhm.
And so did all those tests. Thankfully, nothing had spread anywhere to my bones or anything like that.
Good.
The worst part of that testing was a bone marrow aspiration,
Ooh,
and I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
I know.
It okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I just was it
It is
hurt so bad I didn't have
extremely painful.
sound. I didn't
Mhm,
have sound. I didn't know.
mhm,
Just
mhm.
was like, but
Very painful.
yes, yes,
Mhm,
got through the staging and met with an oncology nurse. They did an orientation where she basically explained to me how the chemotherapy would be administered, things like that. Of course, my oncologist and I, we talked about my treatment plan. And
mhm,
because of my age and because of the success that this particular type of treatment had, which consisted of chemotherapy, 6 months of chemotherapy and a month of radiation, the particular kind of chemotherapy was ABVD. And the bleomycin in that chemotherapy regimen is no longer administered because it can be very harmful to your lungs. And
mhm,
unfortunately, I have some minor lung damage due to that
mhm,
that part of the chemotherapy regimen, which had to be removed before I completed chemotherapy treatment.
mhm,
And so that particular treatment protocol had over an 80% success rate for people my age, my gender. And
mhm,
so, of course, I went off and did my own research. And yes, that regimen was pretty effective. So that is pretty much how I decided on my treatment plan. Having that discussion with my doctor, making sure I got all the details from him, specifically how successful was this treatment protocol for someone like me.
mhm.
And just went off and did my own research. Started treatment about a month after my diagnosis, and went through that whole process of chemotherapy and then radiation.
Okay. And so on the other side, you are a cancer doula. And the first time I had heard of a cancer doula was when I interviewed you back in 2020, actually. I don't think it's 2019. I have 2019, but I think it's actually 2020. Um, and I had never heard of a cancer doula before. And you were the first one to introduce me. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a novel concept, right? And
Mhm.
let's talk about how you came up with that. During your cancer, did you have support, like a family, friend support network around you that could take you to treatments, pick you up from treatments, bring you soup when you were sick? Did you have that type of support?
Yes, my family was very supportive.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there were not a lot of people, Tracy, that I could talk to who understood what I was
Hmm.
going through. And that is the key, having that emotional support,
Right.
being able to make that connection and say, hey, when you went through this, did you feel this? And, I just feel crappy today. And having someone truly understand.
Hmm.
And of course, my family was supportive. As I mentioned, my oncologist was great. But
Hmm.
one thing that I learned early on was that there was no one that looked like me. There was no one my age. In
Hmm.
chemotherapy, in the infusion center, there was no one. I had attempted to go to a support group,
Hmm.
and I was the only Black person there. I was the youngest person there, and I was the only positive person there.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, and like after, everyone was just complaining and all
Mhm.
these things. And after 10 minutes, I said,
Mhm.
me and my cells have to get the heck out of here. We want to live. We don't
Right.
need to hear this. And so I had to figure out, how can I help myself? Because at that time in 2011, there were not a lot of things supportive, holistic
Mhm.
support back in 2011. And
Gotcha.
so I started doing research about, how can I take care of myself? How can I self soothe myself? And so I was already journaling. So I kind of knew about the impacts of journaling and how effective that can be. But I learned about, the importance of meditation, mindfulness, you know, breath work, doing breathing exercises, all of those things that really help to lower that anxiety,
Mhm,
get those emotions out on paper with the journaling.
mhm,
You go back and, read those things and see how far you come and use that as motivation to keep going. So, by me needing these resources and having to go out and find all these things for myself,
mhm,
I said, other people must be experiencing the same thing. Other
mhm.
people must be needing to have someone that they can talk with on a very personal basis about what they're going through, but then also get some guidance and some kind of insight as to what's coming around the corner, because uncertainty is a huge part of cancer, and that can really kick your anxiety into high gear.
Right.
When I heard those words, "You have cancer," it was like, okay, what's next? And I had all these questions that I was firing off to the
Mhm.
nurse. And she had to stop me and say, honey, I'm sorry. I can't answer those questions, but I can
Because she
tell you
probably never had cancer herself, so she
she
can
did
only
not.
answer your questions from a clinical perspective. Yeah,
Yes. Not only that, she a lot of times they're told not to give out too much information.
information, right.
Yeah, because they're not the one who is really
Mhm,
diagnosing, they're just sharing the information. But
mhm,
what she did say that, "I just wanna tell you, my husband had Hodgkin's lymphoma years
mhm,
ago, and he's doing great today." That helped a little bit.
mhm,
Once I was able to kinda make it home, calm down, and just start to think through things, being able to reflect back on that statement that she said to me during the brief
mhm,
call, that really helped to calm my nerves, a little bit. But, that uncertainty, that can really have you going in all different kinds of directions.
mhm,
And so, I think that's what's really important and really critical is having someone that you can talk with who has walked through this particular situation.
right,
Everything's not going to be the same, but just
mhm,
having an idea of, okay, this particular thing may be coming around the corner. Here's how I can prepare instead of boom. And you're
right.
like, what the heck do I do now?
It's like a
And
Mack truck
so,
hit you, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So basically, on the other side was birth from your desire to speak to people who looked like you, who were in your age group, who could understand what you were going through and wanted a way out of it. They didn't want to drown in their sorrows. They wanted to be positive. They wanted to be able to get to the other side, right? Which is to stay
Exactly.
on the life side and not
Mhm.
the other side that most people would think about. And that's
Mhm.
great because I always talk about working in the gap. And you were definitely working in the gap by starting this company. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about getting started with this company and choosing to become a cancer doula.
Mhm,
And why not just
mhm.
call yourself a cancer coach, but
Okay,
specifically a cancer doula? Yeah.
absolutely. So I will answer that, but
Mhm.
one thing that I do wanna say is that, you know, it's also about people that have the will to live,
Yes.
and you're not just like, "Oh, I'm gonna die, what am I gonna do?" Yes, that is something that people automatically think out of fear. I thought it too,
Mhm.
but I didn't carry that with me throughout
Right.
the whole time, throughout the whole 6, 7, 8, 9 months. I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted to live. I had a feeling that I was going to live, especially after doing the research.
Mhm.
Now, on the other side
Mhm.
on the other side of cancer, there is life. And that's what I really want people to understand. And it's about bridging the gap between the medical and emotional sides of cancer. Because typically, when someone is being cared for cancer, they're really focused on the cancer itself and not the whole person. That person can be overlooked, and a lot of their other needs are not met.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to cancer doula
I
versus cancer
understand that
coach.
not sorry, not to cut you off, but I do wanna
Mhm.
interject. Everything that you said there does resonate with me. I think in our previous conversation, I did tell you that my mom passed from peritoneal cancer, which is a very, very rare, form of cancer and only has a less than 5% survival rate, right?
Mhm.
So it's a cancer that forms in the free space of the abdomen. It's not really, it's just attached to the abdomen walls. It's not attached to any specific organ, but it can metastasize to various organs within your body. And it does metastasize quickly because
Mm,
of where it is, right?
yeah.
Um, and when my mom discovered that she had cancer, she was already at, why am I holding this pen? She was already at stage, she was
It's Monday.
already, yeah, she was already at stage 4, right? And the doctors had given her 6 months to live. And what I'm about to say kind of goes into my next question for you before we get into the starting of the business. The one thing she says is that they're not God, right? They're not going to put a
Mhm.
timeline on when she expires out of this world. When
Yeah.
she goes is because God is truly ready for her. But until then, she's going to fight like hell to stay here because she's not done with this life.
Mhm.
And that 6 months prediction, I guess, of her passing turned into 6 years.
Wow.
Okay, she fought and had gone into remission, I think twice in those 6 years, but she fought to have a quality of life. She did not really lay down until the last 2, 3 months
Mhm.
of her life. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is when, yeah. So I wanted to know if faith had something to do with your ability to fight. That's
Yes.
basically where I'm going with the question. Yeah.
Yes, great question. First of all, your mom is the true definition of a survivor and of
Mhm.
resilience right there. It's so, I'm sorry that she had to go through that, but she still had 6 years even
Mhm.
after. So
Yeah.
that is a blessing. Yes, faith played a big part. I'm not every Sunday church goer, Bible thumper, anything
Right.
like that. I do believe in God. I know God is real. I wouldn't be here if he wasn't. I knew that God had another plan for me
Mhm.
because of just how I felt inside once I got past the fear. Like my mind was like, nope, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do what I got to do. It's going to be
Mhm.
okay. But, I want to say this, it's okay to be afraid. That is a natural part of it. It's to be
Mhm.
expected.
Mhm.
And, but don't let that fear push you into doing things that don't sit right with you or doing things that you're not sure about. Don't focus on, I'm going to die, or if I don't do this, I'm going to die.
Mhm.
Focus on why do I want to live? And let's take it even further. Not just live and not just survive, but
Have a quality.
quality of life. What do
Mhm.
I want my quality of life to look like?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to thrive? And those are mindset shifts actually that helped me throughout my
Mhm.
cancer journey. And I know that for some people it might be hard to get there initially, but with a prayer was a huge part of my cancer journey and it's a part of my life every day. I
Mhm.
created like a healing journal where I wrote down different healing scriptures. I would read those every day. I got rid of negativity. That means negative people too. There were relationships that needed to go.
Mhm.
Um, it was just a lot. And it really made me look at my entire life, is where I'm going with this. Is like, it's not just your physical health. There are so many other components of health that we typically overlook. And so
Mhm.
while you're working on improving your physical health, let's look at other areas of your life because they're all interconnected. So
Right.
I'll get off that soapbox and
Yeah.
I'll answer your question. So when I started on paper, on the other side, I actually got my LLC in 2017. I
Mhm.
continued to work in corporate America, completed a coaching certification, and at the end of 2018, I exited corporate America, took a break for the holidays. In 2019 is when I just got out there with my business.
Okay.
Initially, Tracy, I was calling myself a cancer coach.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it was for for maybe about 4 or 5 months, and I'm like, "I don't like this. I don't like something," and coach
In
was
the word
every
coach.
oh,
Yeah.
it was like, "Coach this, coach that."
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, "No, I'm not a coach. I gotta
Mhm,
figure this out." It just didn't speak to me.
mhm,
But, I knew of birth doulas. I had
mhm,
never had a child, but I
mhm.
knew about the huge impact that they had in bringing life into this world.
Right.
And I'm all about living life. So I started researching the word doula, and
Mhm,
at the core, it really means, let's strip all the fancy stuff down. At the
mhm,
core, it means someone who supports another person through a major life change or significant health-related experience. That is cancer. Major
mhm.
life change,
Yep.
significant health-related experience.
Mhm.
That's my word. And so and so and so I
Yeah.
went from cancer coach to cancer doula.
Mhm,
And like you said, no one knew what the heck it was, and people still don't know. I mean,
mhm.
there's a couple other if you search cancer doula now, you'll see a few other
Yes.
people.
Yep.
Um, but it to me, here's how I explain it and how
Mhm,
it applies to what I do. So a birth doula is beginning of life.
mhm.
There are death doulas who help you
Yes.
transition, end
Mhm,
of life.
mhm,
Cancer doula, we are focused on the present. So
mhm,
focused on helping you to get on the other side of cancer so you can reclaim your life because
mhm.
that's what it's all about.
I
And
love
so
that.
thank you. And so
Mhm.
I hope that I answered your question,
Yes, most
about
definitely you did.
how I went from coach to doula because to me, I am not coaching anyone. I am walking right beside my clients. I am guiding them,
Mm,
and I am being an advocate for them as well when needed.
yeah. I know when I'm as you're talking and I'm going over the words in my head, cancer coach, can that just
Mm-mm.
doesn't sound right. Like, what are you coaching me through? Cancer?
Exactly,
Like, no,
exactly.
no.
Mm-mm.
I need you to
No.
coach me through, like you said, to life on the other
Mhm.
side of this whole cancer. So yes, I absolutely love the doula component. You really need to have a heart of gold to really want to sit through people sit with people through the hardest moments of their lives to give them encouragement to want to live and to want to move on and get to the other side, literally, for
Mm.
themselves, for their family members, and just for, whatever else they have going on. But this has to be a person that really wants to do hard work. This is not for greed. Like, I would hate for somebody to be my cancer doula and you have no interest in finding out about the particular cancer that I have, what I'm going through with the diet, the medications that I'm
Mhm.
getting. None of that, because you're just here to just sit and be like, oh, I'm here, right? Because you're just about the paycheck. Like, that can be so icky if it's not done correctly. So sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Someone who is not you get it. So,
Yeah.
as I was saying, they really need to be people who have experienced cancer, either as a
Mhm,
caregiver or someone who has actually survived or and is thriving after cancer.
mhm,
I think it's very important for the person to really be in a good place. So I don't recommend a year after you've completed treatment trying to become a cancer doula. No, there are a lot
raw
of
skill.
things that are going to come up
Mhm.
even after that you are going to have to take care of.
Yeah.
You talked about making money.
Mhm.
No, this is not a get quick rich,
No.
get rich quick thing at
Scheme, yeah.
all. I
Mhm,
have invested a lot of my own money, and it is not something that people really they're not knowledgeable about it. So there's a lot of education involved, and
mhm.
it's not covered by insurance. So it's not going to be something that everyone can tap into to get the support, which is sad. Um,
Question, though.
mhm.
Is a birthing doula covered by insurance?
It's yes, some insurances, yes, they are.
Okay, so this would
Mhm.
be something you would need to lobby for to get
Lobby
covered by
for.
insurance. I get
Yes.
it. Mhm.
And in 2022, I actually was on a panel with the American Cancer Society,
Mhm.
and there were some decision makers there and here in Minnesota. And
Mhm.
I let her know that this is something that people really need. And
Mhm.
she, at the time, said it was something she was going to take back and kind of get out there and start talking about it. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how far that has gone. Um,
Okay.
but I think that there are some things like, I have a little hope because certified health and wellness coaches
Mhm.
will be able to bill for health insurance, for medical insurance. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping that pretty soon cancer support will be able to, cancer doula will be able to as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm,
because I can just see how people, like with my mom and my cousins, I've had a lot of family members who have gone through cancer.
mhm,
So I have up close and personal experience with seeing the devastation that cancer can cause, not only for the person who has it, but for the entire family structure. Um, I myself have not had cancer. I've had lots of cancer scares though.
mhm.
And I literally lost one kidney because of it.
Oh,
Because my body tends to like to grow tumors, right? And
yeah.
those tumors start calcifying and sometimes can look like cancer. So I've lost a lot of organs because of cancer scares. Um,
Wow.
but I, where was I going with this? But I can see, yes, literally how the entire family structure can be totally torn apart. And especially when you have children involved of varying
Mhm.
ages, not only does the mom or the dad need support, but the rest of the family also needs support. Is that something that the cancer doula can accommodate?
Yeah, so that is something that I do accommodate as a cancer doula.
Mhm.
And here's a good example of that. There was a client a woman who became my client because her daughter reached out to me. And
Mhm.
her daughter was just like, me and my other siblings, we don't know how to support our mom. She is used to being the one who makes all the decisions and the one in charge. And
Mhm.
now the tables were turning where they needed to support her and they need to start making decisions, not specifically for her care, but other family things. And
Mhm.
so they had reached out to me about how do we best support our mom? She's being very difficult to talk with, communications breaking down, all of those things. And so I basically worked with the siblings
Mhm.
to, here's how you connect with your mom. She's at a point right now where she's just trying to figure things out. A lot of information is being thrown at her. Here are some things that you can do. And then after, they did those things, everyone came together. So I was there. I was kind of the mediator between the children and the mother. And then
Okay.
eventually, once they felt like things were okay, we have a groove now. And
Mhm.
so then I worked specifically with the mother, helping her to get through and navigate through her cancer journey, explaining to her certain questions to ask, connecting her with other resources beyond what I do. For example, connecting her with an oncology dietitian, someone
Mhm.
who's a dietitian who's, focuses on cancer
Mhm.
patients. And so those are kind of the ways that I can help families.
Mhm.
And also, it can be just a person who is caring for their loved one and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. And I meet specifically just with them. So it's
Okay.
it's very flexible in that way.
Okay. I think what I wanted to ask was, can the cancer doula act as a support in a different capacity? I know with the consulting component, working with the families, but let's say, for instance, one of the things, oh boy, one of the things I realized, because when we first met, I was living in Connecticut. I now live in Florida, right? So in
Yeah.
Connecticut, I have family. In Florida, I don't, right?
Mhm.
Well, I do. My daughter lives with me. But let's say, for instance, I needed to go to have a procedure the hospital done. And this is a procedure where I was probably going to be anesthetized, right?
Mhm.
Um, I could not go and have that procedure done by myself.
Yes. Mhm.
So, and I found that out because I wanted to go have a procedure done by myself, right? I was like,
Mhm.
my daughter doesn't need to come. I can
Yeah.
just come and get this procedure done and then come back home. And they were like, no,
Mhm.
ma'am, that's not
Mm-mm.
how that works. And I was like, what do
Mhm.
you mean? And they were
Yeah.
like, you have to bring someone with you. And I was just like, but if I don't have somebody to bring with me, then what? Then you can't have the procedure. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So I
Mhm.
can't get medical help because I don't have a friend, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, I was really upset about it because I'm just like, sometimes you want to be private. You want to do something by yourself. You don't want to involve your friends. Like, what?
Mhm.
Why can't I come and have this procedure? And they were like, we cannot put you in an Uber by yourself after a
Mhm.
procedure. I was like, why not? She was like, first of all, you can't drive yourself because you'll have to be able to get back home. So you have to
Right.
come here with someone having driven you or come in an Uber. But once the procedure is done, you're still going to be groggy from the
Yes.
procedure. We cannot put you in an Uber and send you back home
Mhm.
by yourself. So it started me on the path of, because like maybe like a mile up the road and then 2 miles up the road, there are elderly facilities. So when I say elderly
Yes.
facilities, I'm talking about 55 and over community. You know, those communities, Florida is
Mhm.
famous for those communities,
Mhm.
55 and older communities. And then there's like, elderly facilities for people who actually need assistance. And
Yes.
I'm just like, okay, those people are fine. But the people who live in regular homes in just a community for people who are 55 and older, well, I'm sure they have, but if you don't, like say you're, a person who stays by yourself, how
Yeah.
do you go to the hospital if you have cancer, if you have whatever, what
Mhm.
happens to you? So all of that just to ask the question, right?
It's okay. It's okay. It's
Can
okay.
a cancer doula play that role in a cancer patient's life?
Yes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple things. So, me specifically,
Mm-hmm.
yes. However, the client would need to be located within like 30 miles.
Right.
So now here's the other part of what I do. I am also a board certified patient advocate. So that is where you can
Mm-hmm.
find a patient advocate, and patient advocates offer different services, just like cancer doulas offer different services. And
Okay.
if you're someone that does not have cancer, but you're in need of support in that way,
Mm-hmm.
um, finding a patient advocate in your area would be a good way to go. And not only can they accompany you, but they can make sure that you have certain documents in place should something not go well,
Right.
so there are other ways that they can support you too. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there are other services where you can just say, "Hey, I want, someone to attend this appointment, this medical procedure with me."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there are other services where you can have that level of support too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know about patient advocates, but I
Mhm.
never stopped to think about hiring like, about
Yeah,
them in the hospital setting.
yes.
They were with me in the
You wanna
pandemic.
get an independent
Pendant. Yeah.
outside of the
I did not
yes.
know, or maybe I knew, but I never stopped to think that that was a real thing. That,
Mhm,
hey, about nurses, aides, and personal care
mhm.
assistants and whatever, but hiring a patient advocate. If
Yeah,
you want some privacy, sometimes you don't want your family to know everything that's going on in your
exactly,
life, right? So,
exactly.
yeah.
Especially if you can speak for
Sometimes you don't want to
yourself.
worry them, or you just, you want to get through a certain hurdle before you
Mhm.
involve them in everything because they'll take
Yes.
things and they're so afraid they're going to take it to
Mhm.
another level sometimes. So, yeah,
Yes.
that's good to know
Yeah,
for people who are in similar situations, whether you have cancer or not. If
yeah.
you need someone to go with you, there you can always reach out to Leah.
Mhm, you got
Right?
it,
Okay.
Talaya.
I don't know why I want to always call your name wrong. To Talaya, and
Yes.
she can help you to get in contact with one in your state as a
Yes.
certified
Mhm.
patient advocate. She has
Absolutely.
access to a list and she can vet someone who is
Yeah.
good for you, right?
Yes.
So
And
that is a service that she offers.
absolutely. And the other thing I know I just said it, but I want to say it again. And if you are going to utilize a patient advocate, yes, you
Mhm.
can utilize the one at the hospital, but just know that they are focused on
The best interest of the
they have to
hospital.
adhere to the hospital's
Yeah.
protocols and standards. You
Mhm.
may have specific concerns that may be in conflict
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
the hospital and clinic. So you want to invest in a independent patient advocate. And like Tracy said, if you need any resources in that area, I can definitely connect you with people. I think it's a great idea to have someone in your area so that if an emergency comes up, they
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
accompany you. It won't be
Yeah.
this huge distance. Um,
And one of the other reasons I thought about this too is because I'm not young, right? I'm not
Mhm.
young.
You're not old
And
either. You're not
I'm not
old.
old, but I'm not young. And I know a lot of women in my age group who don't have children and
Yes.
live on their own. Like I've had quite a few of my friends and family members' children who have died
Oh,
at home because they're homebodies and they're just, those people who are
mhm.
not very sociable, almost like hermits. They go to work, they
Yeah.
come home, and that's it, right? And
Yes.
have died and been in the house for like 2, 3 days.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
nobody knew that
Mm.
you know, that they were there and they were not taking care of themselves. And, just, I was just thinking about it holistically, like
Mhm.
outside of cancer and along with cancer, just
Mhm.
having someone who can go to the doctor with you. Because
Yeah.
sometimes people are just not the best advocates for themselves.
Absolutely, and that is one of the roles of a cancer doula, and
Mhm.
I can even do that virtually. So I can
Okay.
get on a video call with
Oh,
them,
awesome.
or if they're local, I can
Mhm.
attend the
With
appointment
them.
with them as well, and I even take it even further. I
Mhm.
want to, make sure the doctor knows that I'm coming along to support my client. And
Mhm.
hey, can we have a quick 5-minute conversation
Mhm.
before I even get there, before the patient even gets there? And
And
I
this
think
would
that's
be a release form that the patient would
yes, they
sign with
have
the
to fill
doctor.
out a release. Yeah, they have
Mhm.
to fill out a release.
Mhm.
And there was something else I was gonna say about patient advocates. I'm sorry, I kind of
No, that's fine.
lost it.
Keep
So
interrupting with my questions.
it's okay.
But this component is very interesting to me because I think
Mhm,
this is where the heart of your business lies in that support of
mhm.
the cancer patient, the family, and the family members, and
Yeah.
helping them to get those wraparound services. Like you
Mhm.
said, they may need something else beyond what
Yes.
you can actually give to them through what it is that you do, but being
Right.
able to put them in the hands of a trusted individual that can continue the other parts of the services that they
Mhm,
need, I think is great.
mhm.
Do you talk to your cancer patients about, I know we're trying to get on the other side of life, but we
Mhm.
also have to be realistic in
Yes.
some cases, and we just don't know what is going to happen.
Mhm.
Do you talk to them about getting their affairs
Yes,
in order? Okay.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Actually, that is critical because things could be looking really good. Say they
Right.
need to have surgery. Anything can happen in surgery to any one of us.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, do you have your will? Do you have your healthcare directive? Those are things too. See, this is why I got the became a board certified patient advocate as well,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
these things are like this. And
Right.
so being able to educate people on those things and making
Mhm.
sure that they understand what documents they need to have in place is very important. I mean, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I did not have a will because why would I need a will at 30 something and I didn't have
Right.
children? But
Mhm,
everybody needs a will, whether
mhm,
you're sick or not. But once I learned about my diagnosis, I started getting my affairs in order, even
mhm.
though in my mind I had already made up that I wasn't gonna die. But
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
sometimes, we're
Yeah, you
not
just
as
don't know. I can go to
mhm,
sleep tonight and not
yeah,
be here tomorrow.
yeah.
Lord, no, but that it can happen, right? Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that, because that is one of the things I know that even now, when you talk to people about getting their affairs in order, even though they're healthy, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about that." Oh my, like they get really, really, really irate about it. But at the end of the day, we're all only here for a specified period of time. So, yeah, that needs to be a talk that cancer patients need to have. You cannot act like it's not going to happen at some point in time, and nobody's saying that, that's what we want to happen. We want you to get over onto the other side, but we also want to make sure that you're being realistic and you're leaving your family in the best possible situation so that they can actually grieve. So I'm just going to tell this quick story. Back to my mom again. So I told you that my mom had the cancer. She 6 months, 6 years from the time she found out she had cancer. Well, she was always, because my mom was a realtor, so she always had basically her things already set. But she made sure that whatever could possibly have any loopholes, that she got her lawyer to tighten them up completely. When my mom passed away, right? She died on December 20th.
Oh,
I hate Christmas.
I bet.
I do not like Christmas at all. And we had the funeral, I think I had the funeral on 27th or the 28th of December. I don't believe in keeping people around for a long time. I think the quicker you go to rest, the quicker I can start and everybody else can start moving on, because I may be sad for those 7 days, but I am not grieving for those 7 days, because those 7 days I become the operation manager.
Things to do.
Okay? I have a list of things to do and my emotions cannot get in the way. Right? Because these things need to be executed as quickly as possible, because we're not paying storage fee. And I some people think that it's callous for me to speak this way, but that's who I am. I'm a very logical thinker, and I just go into operation manager mode, right? And I'm telling you, quickest, easiest wrap up of life. Okay?
She had it in order.
Because everything was in place. I took care of all. She didn't do any of the, and let me tell you how logical I am. My mom would not put me as her power of attorney over her medical directives. She said, that chick will kill me off.
She's like, I won't have a chance.
She said, I want a chance at life. She said she would tell him, pull the plug.
One skip breath. Nope, that's it. Time to go.
And I'm like, Ma, stop it. She was like, girl, I know you, right? You'd be like, you said no brain. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's it. And she's like, I need somebody who's going to be like, well, let her stay for another 2, 3, 4 days. Yeah. Right. So
figure this out.
So, I was able to just go in, make those funeral arrangements, do the repast, do the whole funeral thing in at Christmas. Remember, this is Christmas time.
Busy,
so the 24th and the 25th, and she was still buried on the 27th or the 28th.
Wow. Yes.
Because I was not playing no games. And we were not taking this into the new year.
Yeah. And she had it together and you executed quickly.
Exactly. Got in contact with the insurance company. They cut a check to the funeral home. Like everything is, and it was done in 7 days, with Christmas being in the middle of those 7 days.
Wow. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you have to get to the mourning process. You have to get there. And the only way to get there is to wrap up the end. They didn't need to be a whole lot of fighting and who's gonna, like that. No. So just to say that, it has to be a conversation that you have, because you do not want to leave chaos behind.
And that's all
unfair to the people who are living.
Yeah. That is so important. And, I had an experience myself, and that's why I really talk to people about getting their affairs in order, having that will, whether you think you don't have anything to give away, somebody wants something you got. I don't care if it's a shirt, whatever, somebody's going to be fighting over it. If it's okay, Tracy, I just want to go back to something you said earlier.
No problem. Mhm.
And you even said it. You were like, well, sometimes you don't want your family to know what's going on.
Mhm.
And see, that's another benefit of having a cancer doula because a lot of times the conversation is different with me versus
Mhm.
with their family. And a
Mhm.
lot of times a person will hold back what's
Mhm.
really going on because they don't want to add more stress and worry to their family, but they'll
Mhm.
they'll they'll share it all with me.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the other benefits of having a cancer doula by your side is
Mhm.
because that conversation is different. They're able to be more transparent. They're able to really talk about all the ugly things that they wouldn't normally say to a loved one. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to circle back to that.
Mhm.
And yes, I don't care what you think you don't have. I don't
Mhm.
care how young you are. I think everyone needs to have life insurance and you need to have a will
Yes.
because especially if you're an
Probate is no
adult.
joke.
Yeah, and in
Probate
terms
is
of
no joke.
yeah, it
Listen,
it isn't. Yeah.
probate almost made me go to the hospital.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
and you
don't
know
want any part of it. And I'm not gonna go down my probate story,
mhm.
but like if you can stay out of probate,
Yeah,
that's what you wanna do.
mhm. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and, I just want to say that if you're an adult and you have children, it's not your children's responsibility to pay for your funeral
It
services.
is
They're not
not.
obligated. I mean, I had to do that for my dad.
Mhm.
I talked to him many times, even before I was doing this work. You
Mhm.
need to have life insurance. You need to have life insurance. And when he passed away, I ended up paying because it felt like the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, and not to go a lot into that situation, but I just want to let people know that it is very important to have life insurance. I don't
Mhm.
care how healthy you are. That is one of the things that you are really responsible for. And
Yes.
as Tracy said, so that your family doesn't have to fuss and fight, they don't have to
Mhm.
scrape and scratch for money to bury you or cremate you or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's so important to have those things in place, especially in the Black community. We
Yes.
have to do better.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. All right, so we're coming to the end. This has been a great conversation.
Yes.
I really hope that the audience gets a lot out of it. I know that I have clearer understanding of what a doula does, patient advocacy,
Mhm.
because I know there are a lot of people out there who are in similar situations to the ones we talked about today, whether it's a man or a woman who
Yeah,
is living by him or herself in a strange city and has medical issues and need to, you know, get help and just don't know where to turn. So
yeah.
reaching out to you and, speaking with you, whether you're in their state or not, will be a good first step for them. But my question is, what makes you an impactor?
Yeah, so what makes me an impactor is the fact that I've gone through this difficult thing in life called cancer, and I have taken what I've been through, and I'm helping to make the next person's experience a lot smoother. I did not ask for permission. I said, "Hey," once I understood my purpose and I understood the assignment, I'm like, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do." And so what makes me an impactor is showing up each and every day, no matter how hard it gets, to make sure that it's easier for the next person and to really just, do things outside of the norm. Don't let what society tells you what that you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to be doing hold you back from your purpose and your dreams.
Awesome. And if we had to
Okay.
leave the audience with 3 tips today surrounding cancer and just living life to its fullest, changing their mindsets, what would that be?
Number one, if you feel whatever you feel inside, if something doesn't feel right, it isn't right for you. Number two, you don't have to fit into what society says that you are supposed to be. You are unique and it's okay. You do what is best for you as long as you're not harming other people. And then number three, I think really it is to invest in your health, invest in yourself. So if you're going to go out and buy expensive purses and shoes and all these things, invest in your health. Check into a yoga class, go get massage, try out aromatherapy, like
Mhm.
invest in your health and your well-being, because if you don't have those things, you have nothing.
Very true. Very true. So tell people how they can get in contact with you and if you want to give them a brief rundown of your services.
Yes, so you can reach me at ontheotherside.life. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can search Talaya Dendy. And right now, my signature offer is a 3-month program where we work together. And in those 3 months, there are 60-minute sessions twice a month. And you get a free meet and greet call where we can talk about the challenges that you're facing and how I can support you. I also have a podcast called Navigating Cancer Together. You can explore that podcast before, if you know you're kind of like on the fence, to just see how I communicate, how I connect with my guests to really help you to get a better understanding of myself and a lot of the things that we talk about on the show. And so those are the ways that you can reach me. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to fill out the contact form on my website or hit me up on LinkedIn.
All right. All right, Talia, thank you for
Thank you.
being my guest today. I truly appreciate you coming back and sharing your updates and just refreshing the new viewers that will see this about what it is that you do, because I really think that this is a super important topic, especially with the rise of cancer in our communities right now. So
Yes.
thank you again
Thank
for being
you.
my
Thanks
guest.
for having me, Tracy. Good to
You are
see you
welcome.
again.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.